Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net. I have enabled chat. If you guys do me a favor, don't use the Q&A only button or question button. Use the chat. And if you guys could let me know, you can see and hear me okay. Hey, Connie. Hey, Tony. Good evening. Howdy. Connie, I think I know who you are. I think I've seen your posts with that howdy with the cowboy hat on YouTube, and I appreciate you for commenting on that. That means a lot. Aaron says, hi, everyone. Guys, as we get comments and or questions, some of you this is your first time here, and there's a lot of new people tonight. So I am going to cut off chat for a second and go into some things. Sounds good. I can hear you. Sounds good. Katie, Tony, Helen, Sean, Richard, Ralston. Awesome. Got a lot of older names in here too. You look good. Thank you, Jim. Hi there, says Cheryl. Linda. Hello. Linda M. All right, guys, I'm going to shut this down for. Hey, Sean, it's Bruce, and hello from Carl. Okay. I am going to shut it down for just a second, guys. I'll turn it back on. And those of you guys that have been in here before, you know that Jeff will highlight, hey, Joseph and Stuart, North Idaho, Houston, Julie, Gail, I can hear you. Dee, can see and hear you. Rochelle, hey, okay. You're okay to be late, James. Let me, Sean, I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to come back to that question. I'm going to stop for just a second, the comments. Okay. Remember, guys, if you're going to ask a question, do not use the question and answer thing. I know that's counterintuitive, but definitely use chat for us. It is private. It helps us not get glitches. And when we get a question that we're answering, we will try to highlight that question so it pops up so everybody can see it, so that I'm not just reading it. I've posted a lot recently on YouTube. So if you're not following that channel, I'd really recommend you do that. But I've had a lot of recent questions too, where we have a lot of new people coming on board, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of people are really tentative right now and concerned about the market. And they're looking for, if nothing else, at least to have a side hustle. But I'm also getting really intelligent questions on the YouTube videos and going a lot of in depth. And I'm actually enjoying that a lot. Obviously, we don't give them guys the same stuff we give our members in terms of documentation, scripts, contracts, that kind of stuff. We don't go into any of that. And we will not, if you saw one of the recent videos, we will not partner with them unless they've become a member. That's not fair to you guys. And it costs us money to start somebody with support and underwriting the files and data entry and calling and mailing and all that. So last week was a really good week, by the way. It seems to be just chugging right along. But real quick for the new guys, because this is the question I know I'm going to get from you. You've checked out the website, surplusfundsriches.net. You've gone to the products page. You've read the insider's guide, but you're still not sure the difference between national surplus funds and Premier 16. Okay. So one is 8% to you, one is 16% if you want to partner. Obviously, the 16%, more money, more work. So besides looking or researching debt, you and the Premier 16, you also have to find the people and have a warm conversation to make sure they're willing to speak with us and then turn that in. Really excited, by the way. So that's for you guys, the new guys on here. Another question I get with that is people say, let's call it an interesting pairing. Okay, let's say I'm a sommelier right now, right? A wine professional, somebody that pairs things with wine. So the deed flip actually goes kind of hand in hand with the surplus. And the reason for that is you're doing the research, you're doing title work and doing the research on property pre-sale. If we can't get it under contract prior to the sale, if nothing else, you've already researched debt and double check that. If we've turned it into us, we've tried to reach them. We maybe even reached them just maybe the last minute, too late for them to actually get back to us to make it work. But you'll know in advance if it actually, when it sells, you've already done the research on the debt. So you've got kind of a double turn in there, right? Both pre-sale on the deed flip and then a second shot at it with the surplus funds. Meanwhile, again, we've tried to reach them. We've tried to get a hold of them. We've eliminated the wrong phone numbers and the wrong addresses. Often we've had a conversation and we're the first ones in the door. So that is definitely a plus there. I'm gonna get rid of this. All right, Sean, I'm going to open chat back up. And any questions are okay. Okay. One of the cool things we went into recently is working with the states and also judgments, how to handle judgments. Those are a couple of videos we've thrown up. Those are actually public. Obviously, we touch base on all this stuff in ebooks, but just wanted to throw that out there too. Let me enable the chat. Okay, that's enabled. Sean, what's the average payout on the time flipping program? Sean, I'm going to assume it's actually going to be higher than the deed flip. And the reason I say that, well, first of all, you're kind of doing it, right? You're working with the investor direct, not with us on the time flipping. We'll do the Zoom mentor with you when you've got it right there at the goal line. You got somebody on the hook. We'll have the Zoom mentoring, and we'll put that in front of our investors. So you're the lead on that. Depends on how you want to do it, Sean. One of the things that I find most interesting, let me see something here. I'm going to broadcast that. One of the things I find most interesting, Sean, about it that a lot of people haven't brought up is I gave you a method to basically split rents down the road where you actually hold the property. And that's, obviously you have to get rid of the current owner because they haven't paid taxes, they're not going to pay rent. But that I think has been overlooked, and reread the book if you don't know what I'm talking about, because that's a really strong method of going after these guys. But having said all that, obviously you're trading time instead of so much money. So I would think the average net would be closer to 40 or 50 grand on a deal. No kidding. You said in one of your videos, don't be afraid to show them the money if we decide to confirm the actual overage. What exactly are we showing them to confirm? Don't be afraid to show them the money. D, I didn't see that. What I meant was, don't be afraid to tell them the money is there. Don't be afraid to tell them what created it. They're going to figure it out anyway. And, I know some of the guys out there telling people to call people and pretend like they don't know what well, there's money there, but I'm not going to tell you where it is. That's just tell them what created it and where it is. We've never had an issue with people going around us for that. But of course, we're using buyout, structured buyout. So people are using us for a different reason. We're using attorneys and we're giving them money in their pocket right away. Linda, thank you. The difference between bankruptcy, gold mine, and surplus hybrid. Linda, thank you. I'm going to put this thing. No, I can't take people speaking, guys. Somebody's got their hand up to speak. I'm not doing that. Hold on. Let me broadcast this real quick. Okay. So Linda says, what's the difference between bankruptcy, gold mine, and surplus hybrid? So in bankruptcy, don't use question and answer, guys. All right. Use the chat box. All right. So in bankruptcy, gold mine, bankruptcy, gold mine, surplus hybrid. So in bankruptcy gold mine, you're going after property that's in the bankruptcy court. It has nothing to do with surplus funds. There was a bankruptcy. They divvied up. They liquidated some assets. They divvied up money, sent it to creditors. The check came back. They didn't make an effort to go after the creditor and find them. So you're making a deal with the creditor. You don't have to buy them out. You're signing the debt, not the money. It's weird, but they're not assigning that money to you. They're assigning the debt that they're owed from that person to you. And you can use that to collect from the court. It's kind of cool, but the average is smaller. It's $500,000, $1,500 at a whack. Hybrid is surplus, where you can't get a hold of the owner, they don't want to work with you, or there's too much debt. You literally look to see, did they go into foreclosure within 2 years before or after the foreclosure sale? If they did, most bankruptcy courts, and by the way, the bankruptcy is usually not recorded at the county level, so they were never notified the money was there. Okay, so you could be $500,000 in debt against the guy, and there's a $50,000 overage, and there's 20 different creditors owed. You can contact the bankruptcy court. They take priority, request a 25% referral for telling, and use pacer.gov to see if they went into bankruptcy. Sorry. That'll also tell you who the attorney was on that case, trustee on that case. You can contact them, tell them, there's some money regarding this case, and they will gladly give you a 25% referral just for telling them where the money is. The hybrid teaches you how to do that, gives all the scripts for that, walks you through step by step. I believe the highest check we've ever seen on that was 64 grand. That's a heck of a whack, guys. It's a good way to pick up stuff, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to use that search right at the beginning, because there's only so many people that go into bankruptcy, higher in certain states than others. But the bottom line is it can be extremely lucrative on a deal you normally couldn't work. Great question, Linda. Bruce, do you have a letter to find attorneys in a certain state? I don't. Now, Bruce, God, you guys are like asking killer. I teach you how to handle attorneys, but let me cover this here. I want to broadcast this. All right. I handle it a little different. I have a central attorney that I know in North Carolina. I get power of attorney from I do a structured buyout with the claimant, give them 10% up front, the rest of whatever we agree to later, upfront meaning within 2 weeks, 10 business days after we get our documents back. It's always a power of attorney to our local attorney in Carolina. That attorney, besides the power of attorney for them, it also says he has the right to hire attorneys in other states and so forth to get the job done. So I only had to hire one. And he, when he factors or farms it out using a paralegal to different attorneys in different states, he gets a 3%. He gets 3% of whatever we do, or 375, whichever is higher. It's always higher, but 3% of the deal as well, just for finding the attorney and walking him if he needs to walk it through him. As far as the letter, we teach you guys the power of attorney helps, but I kind of go into that it's especially in the national. I think there's actually a video on that. Good question, Bruce. Guy, regarding national surplus, what is the percentage of submitted files to you that end in a payout to the partner? Guy, it's too off the charts. I will tell you this. When you get to the west and the northeast, the people are moving, so the conversion rates are a little bit lower. I haven't been tracking it like I should, just because my girls have been putting God, I'm in the south and I'm getting away with that. The young ladies that work for me have been putting a lot together. I'm not avoiding your question, but it's just, we've had guys turn in stuff where they were literally trying to find bizarre things like LLCs to work. We've had just really weird stuff turned in before. So we shy away from going into percentages on that because there's too many variables. I'm sorry. Again, Guy, I'm not trying to ignore you or blow off your question. I'm not going to answer it. I have I have an idea, but we're not going down that road because it's too different person to person. We've had people turn in 5 and get 3. We've had turn in people 50 and get 1. I mean, it's statistically, it's all over the map, and it depends on where you're working and how hard you're working. And another problem we had is somebody was actually not telling us about additional debt. And that's why we weren't getting calls back, because the people knew they weren't entitled to the money. So it kind of screwed us up a lot. Okay, Sean, the great question from Troy. Hold on, Troy. Put this comment up for you. All right. Is the new time flipping included in Diamond? No. But the Diamond program has a voucher. Okay. That voucher can be used to get other programs. Time flipping is brand new. It's not included in there. Time flipping is trading time instead of money with the person. So you can get these pre-tax sale deals where you're paying off the taxes to stop the foreclosure, letting them stay there for an extended period of time in exchange for not paying them a whole lot. There is a mentor aspect to that that's built in that none of the other programs have, where on the first deal, once you've gotten it to the goal line and you need a little help, you can use Zoom mentoring with Jeff and I when you were there, when you've actually had a conversation with people and they're ready to go. And we will put you in touch with the investors that we know. Good question, Tony. Thank you. Troy. Jeff. Hi, Sean. Your system seems like a great opportunity. From researching, I also see concerns some people have. Sure, I can understand that. I know you have it set up so all members can see what cases are being worked, so multiple members don't waste their time working the same case. Yes. Do you planning on having more transparency in that system in the near future? Okay, Jeff, I'm going to keep reading, but it would be impossible to be more transparent. Okay, so let me get to that in just a minute. For example, who submitted the case file and the status of the case, submitted, processing successful, maybe even the amount gained in each submission. So Jeff, there are codes, I believe. I'm going to ask my Jeff to step in if I'm wrong. But there are, let me put this, sorry. There are codes in there. Remember too, so everything is really streamlined. Sorry, I'm trying to broadcast this. Here we go. So everything is really, really streamlined as far as how we set our systems up. So there should be a code in there. I'll ask Jeff if I'm right with that, maybe not. But even if there isn't, we contact you whenever we put a deal under contract. The ICA, also the independent contractor agreement, binds us both. It doesn't have a non-compete in it, but like for you guys, but you know, so you can go out on your own if you want. But I just don't understand the question, because we're showing the cases we have that we're actively working. I believe there's a code in there to show you where we are. Plus, once you've turned in at least 20 files, you don't need to turn in 20 to get paid, but once you've turned in 20 files, at that point, you can also request updates once a month, and you get the update the following month. There's a system built into there for that, where it goes a little more in depth. But honestly, Jeff, I don't understand what we can't go in depth on every single thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Everything's in an automatic rotation, so they're being mailed and called, and I don't want to, you know, have a. I mean, I can give a breakdown, but we've got a system for that already in place, and you can request updates on a monthly basis. Katie, hold on, I got a message probably from my Jeff. There's no codes on the list. Okay, so basically, here's the deal. What we started doing a little bit different, Jeff, is if you turned it in and you didn't check obits before you turned it in, which is fine. If they deceased, we immediately tell you to cease, so that's out. So you're not thinking that we're working something that we can't work. Otherwise, we're just working it. We're going to work the whole thing straight through, and you can request updates on a monthly basis. The list has file name, county, and state. No code. Sorry about that. We're working it. We will contact you when we put a deal together, but we just work it non-stop. So I'm glad my Jeff got up with me. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's go to the next one. Sorry, Jeff, for the misunderstanding. Katie, where can I find more info on finding mortgage and HOA overage lists? It's in the ebook, Katie. You're going after it the same way, only you're asking for mortgage or homeowners association foreclosure lists. Basically, whoever holds that, just like in the tax arena, whoever holds that particular foreclosure or is in charge of it, they'll be able to get you the list, just like in taxes. So that's who you want to go after. What if a state does both tax and deed sales? I don't understand the question, Sean. If you mean tax lien and tax deed, you're going after those sales that were tax deed, right? On tax lien isn't going to create an overage. Bruce, what and how do you pay attorneys on the upfront amount when the paperwork is started? All right, Bruce, let's go ahead and broadcast that. So it depends on the attorney, Bruce. Most attorneys overall, and our average retrieval right now is $45,000. Our minimum we take on the national has been bumped up to 20 grand. Most of the attorneys end up running me anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500, depending on the attorney in the area. There's, for instance, a state in there that says you got to have minimum of 30. That's because those attorneys run me 3, and I'm looking for a new one cheaper. But I would rather pay them on contingency up to 10%. And I don't have an issue with that. I also pay my referring attorney 3%. But if you don't know the attorney and you're new, a lot of times they're going to ask for money up front. I have 3 cases right now in Louisiana where I have $4,500 just in upfront cost covering to the attorney, $1,500 per case. I try not to go over $1,500 as upfront money, because it's going to be hard for them to go over that. It's really not that hard what they do, just so you guys know. It's kind of a templated system. I do have attorneys that are better and others that can actually argue. Those are rare. One of the things I want to say too, because somebody brought up finding attorneys. I'm sorry, I'm kind of backing up, but people are afraid to just ask the question. The counties usually try to avoid referring attorneys for different cases. Just they don't want to be told, "Oh, why refer this guy, not me," and all that. And it's kind of a liability thing too. You can call the bar or contact the state bar and say, I need somebody that's handled overage recovery, and they'll get you. They're not going, and why do you need that? This is a need to know. Now they're not going to do any of that. Great. Here's this attorney in that area works that. If they know it, if they don't, that's fine. Then I would ask the court, go, hey, look, I'm not asking for a referral. Can you just tell me a couple of attorneys that maybe work this kind of thing? And usually they'll do it. And be very nice, guys. There's so much. I have so many people that have told me stories where they went in and said, well, I told them Freedom of Information Act. And they John Wayne'd it. You're not making any friends. Some of these courthouses and men in the courthouses, they're not making a whole lot of money, okay? And they're dealing with the general public, and you guys know that's, God. I mean, you've seen some of the stories I put online. The stuff we deal with, don't be part of the problem. there's enough crap out. Don't add, you know, just be nice and they will help you out. They're so happy to get some respect, believe me. Okay, D. Important note on mortgage cancellations. Does this apply to the National Surplus Funds package? If so, is this for tax overage submissions only? D. If there's not a mortgage cancellation, yeah, in a mortgage or tax overage, you have to see if there was other additional mortgage, additional debt in the register of deeds. If there's no cancellation, it still exists. It was never canceled. I hope I answered your question. Tony, according to the rules, beginners should only submit one file at a time until we reach 3 correct files. I have not heard anything back from my second. Tony, did you check the list? Because if it's on the list, it was accepted. Okay, guys, we send an auto email now when you use submission. We're getting a little crazy about this because of some of the stuff we're getting. So when you submit to us, one of 3 things is going to happen when you submit a file. 1, it's going to be accepted. Jeff's going to look at it, underwrite it, tell Kathy, cool. She's going to put it in the database. It's going to show up in the list, usually within 2 business days, sometimes 3, but usually within 2. That's number 1. It's accepted. We don't contact you and say it's accepted. We don't do any of that. It shows up on the list. You can see it on the list. Second thing is there's an issue in which Jeff will get up and you go, hey, we had an issue with this. You forgot to fill out the conclusion sheet, forgot to do this, forgot to do that. Please, change that, turn it in, check the rules, check the resources page in the future. Thanks. You can resubmit it at that point. The only other thing that can come up, and this is rare, sometimes we run into this in Florida because it's a single state and it's a separate program. Occasionally, guys will be working in the same county, and the way that the submission rules run, there's a little higher opportunity for people to turn something in at the same time. And some guy turns it in at 10 a.m. and some guy turns it in at 1 p.m. and the 10 a.m. guy gets it, right? 10 a.m. guy gets it. So that's the only time you're going to run into that. But that's the 3 things that are going to happen. So if you haven't heard anything, one of the things it says on there, Tony, too, is look, if it's not showing up on the list, check the list, okay? But if it's not showing up on the list, resubmit it. Eileen, I couldn't download the guide. My computer said Chrome blocked it, and I didn't know how to fix it. Eileen, if you're talking about, there's a file here that we're sharing that you should be able to download with no issues at all. It's a PDF, and there's nothing wrong with it. So download, guys, definitely download the file that's on here, sorry, and that'll help. Okay, Maine. Oh, you're talking about the 120-day rule to us as a researcher. So the rule you're talking about pertains to Florida, and it's more of kind of a support question, but let me go into it. It's just telling you that rule is there, and we're going to take, in that particular state, we will take a risk, even if there's debt, certain types of debt in the way of the overage, because they have a limited time to make a claim. It's the only state that kicks out creditors' claims after a certain amount of time. So that's the benefit there to the researcher, right? Florida's the only state like that. Ray, if a page on a county list says applied for but later denied, does that mean I can work it? This is one that is not on the National Surplus Funds checklist, so it's not being worked by us either. Doesn't mean anything that if it's not on the list, God, turn it in. But let me broadcast this comment. But later denied. The side says applied for, but later denied. Hey, Ray, I'm a little concerned because you don't know who applied for it. Double check your title work on that to make sure that somebody else isn't entitled to the money, and then get up with support on that. Maybe show them the list. It's probably the best thing to do. Carl, I live in Connecticut. Do you have a lawyer resource to close deals in Connecticut? Okay. I need to say this to all of you guys. Stop getting caught up in working just your state. It's online, from home. The difference, I'm in North Carolina. The difference for me in working North Carolina and Connecticut or California or whatever is maybe a thousandth of a millisecond, because it's online, guys, right? Stop getting caught up in working just your state. It's silly. It makes no sense. Having said that, I don't believe I do, and I'll tell you why, Carl. I think we had a rough time with an attorney there. He worked out fine, but then he ended up trying to rebill us a ton of extra money. Remember that in Connecticut, you have a limited time to make a claim. Jeff's from Connecticut, okay? You have a limited time to make a claim there, and it's tight. I think it's 6 months. So if you're going to work that particular state, then you want to look around. But I think what you're saying is do you need a local attorney and then you want to farm it out? Sorry if I misunderstood you. If that's the case, I would still don't worry about it. Doesn't have to be a really local attorney. That's your central. I'll check with Kathy. Here's the deal, Carl. Come to the next webinar. It'll be about 2 weeks. Keep in mind, I don't give out attorneys' names to people until we've put a couple deals together with you and had the money come out. That way I know it's there and it's not you. The attorneys got tired of us. We were actually giving their names out before at one point, and they were like, stop referring us because these guys are not doing the homework. They're lying about checking debt. They're wasting our time. And I'm not saying you would do that, Carl, by any means. But having said that, that's why we don't just give out names. Let me check and see if you've turned some files into us and how they look. And maybe we'll do something about that. Probably not. Usually I wait until we put deals together. I'm sorry. All right. So which programs and where can I work with you? This is D. And Don says, don't wag the dog. Ha, ha, ha. You're right. Okay, D. Which programs can I work with you and where I can work with you? D, go to the site, surplusfundsriches.net. Click on products. It'll ask you to put your name, number, and email in. You can always log out if we send you, you can always opt out if we send you something you don't like. And we're not going to do that. But go there, and there's an insider's guide at the bottom of that page. It'll really give you a lot of information. I think you're going to love it. National surplus, national deed flip, Premier 16 surplus funds, deed flip 30. Good Lord, there's a lot of them. The redemption, there's a ton of them. We work in North Carolina Flipmaster, the Florida programs. D, we've designed it to, we put bundles together where we've designed it to kind of reward you guys for trusting us and getting more programs than just one or two, right? So, I mean, obviously the Diamond Bundle is like 22, 23 programs. That is a lot of money. It's $2,300, but the cost per course is ridiculously low. It's about $100 a course. We've got the Gold program, which is just a phenomenal course. I believe that's 7, and that one is $997, about $140, $150 a course. It's a great deal too. We've got the other one, $160. It's a little lower. It's the best of the best program. It's got our top 5 converting programs. Florida Surplus. All these are our partner. Florida Surplus, Florida Deed Flip, National Surplus, National Deed Flip, and North Carolina Flipmaster. 5 programs for, I believe, $897. However, you can also get the Pro Pack, $597, which is National Surplus and National Deed Flip. Just keep in mind, guys, you can't buy a program that come back later and go, hey, I want to pay the difference and get the final. It doesn't work that way. Everything's point of sale. Sean, would it be prudent to stay away from surplus funds designated as in probate? I mean, if the court actually made a reference that the surplus funds were already a part of a probate or estate file, I wouldn't touch it because they already know the money's there and they're going after it, but they're using an estate to do that, or a estate filing or probate filing to do that. Great question, Tom. D, how do we know if the property has been quitclaimed or not? Okay, I love this question, D, and I'm not making fun of you. I promise you. I'm really not trying to make, here you go. How do we know if property has been quitclaimed or not? Do not say quitclaim to me. It's not quick, it's quit. They're quitting their ownership in the property to somebody else. Don't say quick. You ever say that to somebody that's serious in real estate, they're not going to take you seriously. Quit, Q-U-I-T, claim deed. And it's the deed. Open the deed and read it. When you're in the register of deeds, find the deed where it transferred to the owner. It will literally say at the top, quit claim deed. Seriously. We will not take any file where there's an active motion or claim by the owner. How will we know if there's an active motion or claim? Great question, D. So only certain states give us access to actual case files. So if you don't have access to that, don't worry about it. You have to double check. You have to check. There's rules on the resources page. It'll tell you if it's a list that's fairly recent. We usually tend to, if it's recent and or updated, we tend to trust it. Otherwise, you can check to see if the money's still being held. But as far as, if it's in motion or by the owner, we won't take it. Obviously, that's true because how we work with them. There's only a few states that allow where we can actually check that. Good question. Taisha, I hope I pronounced that right. I have an opportunity where the claimant to surplus funds is deceased and his heirs are entitled to those funds. That heir filed for bankruptcy and has not applied for the overage. Probably won't. I'll get to that in a minute. I would like to, this is freaking awesome. Hold on. This is, I couldn't have asked for a better. All right. Have an opportunity where the claimant to surplus funds is deceased and his heir are entitled to the funds. That heir filed for bankruptcy and has not applied for the overage. I would like to use the hybrid program strategy. Is this the best course of action or just pursue surplus retrieval? Now listen, you're saying heir. I'm going to bet you, Taisha, you don't have an estate or probate file saying he's the heir or he's not the executor either. I'm going to bet that. So you looked up, I'm not making fun of you, I promise, Ancestry.com or whatever, found him or read an obit that said he's the only surviving kid. You can't trust any of that crap. I think it would be awesome for you using the hybrid program because all you got to do is tell the bankruptcy court where it is. And I'll tell you what. See, one of the things, I went into personal bankruptcy in 93. I had a business that I hired somebody that embezzled a ton of money. And he was an old friend from high school. Anyway, having said all that, I went through it. And then one of the things they tell you in bankruptcy, look, you hit the scratch off, you come into money, we need to know because we're giving you a break here, right? You didn't have enough to cover all the debt. So you have to tell us. So, and that's why the hybrid system works. Bankruptcy has a claim against additional monies coming in because the creditors weren't paid full amount anyway. So yeah, use the hybrid program to go get that, Taisha. I believe it's available if you haven't joined up for this yet. Excuse me. I think the hybrid's a part of Advanced Surplus Pro Pack. Advanced. I'm not sure. Jeff can straighten me out on that. Joseph, my money was a little tight when I got the Pro Pack last Friday, and I love it, but I want to add Deed Flip 30. It's not on the past buyer list. Will it be full price? Yeah, Joseph, sorry, buddy. This is one of the things. Let me broadcast this. So we never reduce, even for past buyers, we don't give discounts on National Surplus, National Deed Flip, Premier 16, Deed Flip 30, our flagship stuff. We're never going to, I'm sorry, man. It's not going to be less for that. Do you accept files for property? Good question. Do you accept files for property that are raw land or non-single family homes? Example given, townhomes, condos, mobile homes. Look, we'll take any kind of residential. However, it has to have hookups. That's why we prefer to have property that's falling into the dirt over raw land. Raw land, I don't want. It's going to take too long for the due diligence for us to flip it on the deed flip system. It's going to take us too long. Now, listen, if it's surplus, I don't care what generated it. We've gone after surplus that was created off a deeded boat slip, for Christ's sake. So I don't care what it's at. But if you look talking about flipping property, it has to be residential. Doesn't have to be single family, but it has to be residential. And it's limited as far as if it's a duplex or whatever. I don't care if it's a townhome, mobile home. That doesn't bother me at all. I need to have hookups. Raw land, I have no interest in. And commercial, I have no interest in flipping that, especially these days. Good question. If the file has an ex-bank lien or HOA owner, and there's surplus funds, can we still submit those files? Hey, I'm going to direct you to the resources page because I'm sure that's covered there. I'm going to tell you right now, banks won't talk to us. Even if it's a bank that imploded, you can go to Implodometer if you ever want to see succession trees where a bank went out of business, where'd all their debt go. Implodometer will tell you that. I mean, HOAs will sometimes. I'm gonna defer to Jeff and say, look at the resources page for that kind of stuff. Um, Typically, HOAs won't work with us. Bank lien or HOA owner. I don't know what you're talking about. If there was a bank involved, they're usually not going to talk to us, man. On the recent China title worksheet for tax sales, it omits the requirement stated in the Florida. This is your own Florida system to submit copies of any liens, judgments. Do we no longer have to submit copies of those? Jeff, I'm going to have you step in here. I believe that he may have done something like that because of the ownership and incumbents report that is required. Tony, not on the list. Trying to go back to see what you're talking about. Don't understand that. Yes, you answered my question. Mary, do researchers still get $5,000 up front once the contracts are signed? Yes and no. Let me broadcast this. So guys, if it's in a state where we know we're going to get paid quickly and we've got attorneys who worked in the past that haven't been a problem, yes, we generally do that. And we're going to let you know when we put it under contract pretty quick. If there's any kind of hair on the deal where we're still waiting on it and the attorney hasn't done a check on title yet, or for instance, there's a counterclaim. We had two of those recently. One of them we beat down, one of them we didn't. From the one was from a stepdaughter, another was from an ex-wife, and actually it was from the court because the ex-wife had given her interest in the property to the husband because she was trying to avoid a judgment. But yes and no, Marie. If we know, once we know it's ready to go, we usually send that out. All right, Maine. According to the referrals and resources page, it says subject is to submit documents in the correct order. I'm not sure if you're referring to the order of information listed on the chain of title worksheet by subheadings or the order of items listed specifically within the checklist portion of the chain of title worksheet. Jeff, you can jump in if I'm wrong. I think the only thing that really matters is if we have the title worksheet, the title worksheet first in order, and then the rest of it after that. Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. James, only half of those files. I'm sorry, James, it's too long between when you ask the last question. I'm going to need you to re-ask. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, Justin, how does your training look like? Is it more like a well put together video that shows you on how to do it step by steps, or more like an ebook? Oh, this is a great question. Let me broadcast this. Oh, we're burning through it. How does your training look like? Is it more like a well put together video that shows you on how to do it step by steps, or more like an ebook your clients have to go through? Also, can you do overages if you're in New York? I was told that you couldn't do it in the state of New York. Okay, Justin, I said this earlier. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter where you live, right? New York's difficult to work just because it's hard to get a legitimate list out of those guys. That's what we've run into in the past, but I've seen it being worked. Just work in another state, work wherever you get a list. You're doing it online from home, so don't worry about that. As far as the training, it's anywhere from, depending on the ebook, they're usually between 55 and 75 pages long. It's a step-by-step, no frills, no fluff, and it's step-by-step. Read it at least once. I usually recommend twice for comprehension. You're learning a new skill set. I had one person say, Sean, this is like going to college. No, it's not. It's a 60-page ebook, right? That is step-by-step. Then it has a link with a password with additional video backup training on it. Also, support's included. That's email-based through Jeff. Live question and answers like this one twice a month. You have the independent contract agreement that protects us both off that resources page. Any and all updates are on there. The support system is online. It's email-based through Jeff. He's very quick at getting back. And there's additional resources like you can even see our active files list. So the first thing you do after you get a list is you use the names off of the case names off of the list you have, search ours to make sure we don't have them. Do not have a saturation issue, but it's nice with that transparent. And then you do the research and turn them in. That's a great question, Justin. I appreciate that. Tom, Sean, you answered someone regarding the file showing up on the list. If I'm under the P16 program, won't be notified that my file was accepted so I can make an initial contact with the individual. Tom, here's the deal with the Premier 16. I believe there's initial submission. There's a two-part submission with the Premier 16. And the reason for that is if you want, you can submit it right after you've researched all the debt before you've gotten in touch with the person. That way, other people, say maybe working that county in the national, will see that you've already made a claim on it. There's an initial submission system on that, Tom. I need you to read your ebook because it's built into there. Now, having said that, if you do it that way, I'm going to explain to you guys how some people have gamed our system, and this is why they buy the Premier 16 and the National Surplus bundled together or get a bundle with them in it. If you do it that way, you can't turn around later and say, hey, man, I give up. I can't find them. Put it on the National Surplus. So what people are doing is they're getting both the National Surplus, the 8%er, where it's just researching debt, and the Premier 16 program. They're looking at files, they're researching, trying to see if they can get in touch with them real quick. If they can't, they turn it as a National Surplus Funds file to us, right? Now it's on us to find them on somebody they couldn't find themselves, because we're going to call their relatives and associates, mail their possible relatives and associates too. We're going to do more than they would have. Or if they get a quick call from the guy using our script on the Premier 16, the guy says, yeah, I'll talk to him. Then they can turn it in on the final turn on the Premier 16 with us, right? So I hope that's answered your question. How do you keep all your research organized with all this data, Katie? Guys, you're not going to believe what we use, but I believe it. We're transparent about everything, even if it's kind of silly. So if from your point of view, I mean, a simple Excel worksheet would work great, guys, right? Because then you can always filter, and Microsoft Excel, I think you can pick up programs for free, or it comes with most Office products for free. And I think that's great for you guys. You know, there's going to be a limit to how many you're working. When we do the data entry, we have to, so there's a couple things with that. Usually there's multiple deed holders. So the case file might be under James and Martha Stewart. Okay. We're going to put it under James Stewart and Martha Stewart. But one of our entries is going to say, hey, this is for that, case SP. We also put case numbers, address of the property, foreclosure date, a lot of information. Data entry is a big part of our deal. But it will say on the one that we're not using, hey, look at the other one, look at Martha's for all the notes, because our callers are calling and they're setting up times to call back and all this. And they also have hard copies too of all the files. We're printing all that out. I mean, it's a lot. But we use, and here's where you're going to laugh at us. We don't use Salesforce. We use ACT, A-C-T. This was out in the 80s, right? And we've kept upgrading it and getting it because it allows us to completely customize the way we look at that, and it works great for us. Okay, answered that. Can you explain what a structured buyout is, Eileen? I love that there's some new people here, because you know what? Some of the guys that have been doing this for a while and have read through this, they understand. Explain what structured buyout is. All right. Let's say we're talking to a claimant and it's one person. Just make this easy on me. John Smith, there's 50,000 in overage. The way I run it is I say, listen, we're going to give you a 50,000. We could pay them anywhere from 50 to 60%. Our attorneys are going to run us about 13, 10, and 3. I'm going to pay you guys anywhere from 8 to 16. Not a whole lot of meat left, by the way. And I don't go get into all that with them, but I give them 10% of that, $5,000, it's $50,000, 10% within 10 business days after they sign my agreement. And the rest of whatever we agree to, say it's another 45%, 50%, 45, 22.5 total. Or I'm sorry, more than that, 27.5. But because I'm giving them a total of 55 and a half, give them 10% up front, right? So I give them that 10% up front, the $5,000, meaning within 2 weeks, 10 business days after they sign. I give myself the 10 business days because during that time period, I'm going to have the attorney double check that you guys did the title work right, and that there weren't additional judgments that weren't showing up online, IRS tax liens, that type of thing. Then I'll send out that $5,000 check to the owner. As you can imagine, Eileen, these people just got foreclosed upon. That makes our conversion rate pretty good. That makes our offer pretty darn good. And that's good faith money, non-refundable. The only time they have to pay that back to me is if they were to They also sign a power of attorney to our attorney, not us, to our attorney and the structured buyout. They're trying to go around us. It's got a clause in there. It's got a poison pill. They have to pay back not only us for the initial payment, but any costs incurred by the attorney. We don't have people trying to go around us. Okay. Great question. That's what a structured buyout is. A little bit now, more later. Very good. Thanks from Carl. James, I have submitted. How can I collect those funds? Hey, James, whenever we put a deal under contract, we tell you. And we pay you when we get the money out of the court. Deed flip, we pay you when we flip the property. And we tell you when we put that under contract and buy it. Anything new coming? Rochelle, if there's anything new coming, we're constantly in the lab, right? If there's anything coming, we usually tell you guys about that in November, December. Right now, nothing set. We've got a couple ideas, some different wild stuff we're working on. But right now, I got to tell you, everything's so hot with the surplus and the deed flips with this market. I would work what you got. This was Jeff's response to the main comment. For Florida tax deed surplus, you were to submit a copy of the court title report, ownership and encumbrance report. That's what I was saying. That document shows all liens from the Florida remote surplus. Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you for jumping in on that, Jeff. Will ROP project be available soon? Lou, actually, I missed a call today. GoDaddy is actually reformatting stuff for us, the main site, just because it was so much to do. I'd say a week or two. I know I've been saying that for a week or two, but give us some time here. At one point, do you guys decide to not work a file once it's been accepted? What does the process looks like in general? Man, actually, we go usually at least a year, sometimes a year and a half, sometimes even more. The reason is we're going to pound it for 4 months. 4 months. At the end of 4 months, we give it a break. Then we re-skip trace everything, start all over. And by the way, during this process, we're doing takeaway mailings and voicemails and all. I mean, we're just pounding the snot out of these people. There's some states where we actually hit them 3 times in a row in the first week. When it's submitted to us, we hit them right away with phone call and mailings out the door. I get on the girls, young ladies that work with me. I get on them when they're late on that. But we'll work it, we'll pound it at month 4, we'll stop, do a takeaway, give it like a couple weeks, and do a resubmit on all of our skip tracing programs, try to find them to see if maybe they've come up for air at a different point. Arlene, how often should we check the active files list? Say check before working on the list. Do I check it again before submitting it? I mean, Arlene, I check it right before you. Okay, guys. So when you first start, okay, I understand when you first start, it's a new skill set. Title work is, right? So it's going to take you a little while, maybe take you 30 minutes to research a file because you're still, trust me, a light bulb's going to go off and you're going to go, oh, all I'm doing is I'm putting debt in order, chronological order. Usually you can click a column for that. Okay, seriously, on there, click a column, put it in date order. Because you checked with the tax assessor, you should know when they bought it first and when this thing, and you should know when it's sold because the foreclosure date, you're looking for debt in between those 2 time periods, right? So you know when they're in order, you start from when they bought it, look at the debt, make sure everything's been satisfied, use our worksheet to write that down, all the mortgages, make sure, okay, this was the thing saying it was satisfied, here's the reference. Once you get that down, the light bulb goes off and you go, all I'm doing is putting debt in chronological order and making sure it's all paid off. That's title work. That's title work. So it'll take you 15 minutes. So it'd be silly for you to check the list and then do what? I mean, just do it. Do the research and turn it in. Shouldn't be really, I mean, if you have to come back, that's kind of odd to me. Just check it right before you do the research. You know what I mean? I know the surplus funds list is updated daily. Actually, Maine, no, I don't think we say that. It depends, but around what time each day should we expect it to be an update on average? No, I'm not going to commit to that because the fluctuation's too high. It's usually 3 times a week is when it's updated because there's too much of a fluctuating on the stuff come in. Now the database is updated every day, but we're going to usually update this 3 times, sometimes 4 times a week. That's it. Keep in mind, Mondays are hell for us. Okay. Because a lot of people are doing this as a side hustle. So Friday through Sunday, you guys are turning stuff in, and we walk into that Monday morning, or at least our administrator does on that, the paperwork administrator. How do I get the new updated sheets for the files? My ebook link for Florida always shows an error message for Florida. Hey, Jasmine, send me an email. Should be, you can use the contact us form on surplusfundsriches.net and tell me about that. When I see your buy and I check that, I should be able to figure out what's going on. We'll figure that out. Don't worry about that. But send me an email. Give me any possible email you might have used if it's been a while, and we'll work on that. There we go. Jeff says, same thing as me. It's updated 3 times a week. Mark, I have my first file accepted. I can now submit my second and my third after the second is accepted, correct? Yeah, it's one at a time, Mark. Okay, guys, just listen carefully. So we throttle you back when you first start turning stuff in, and I'll tell you why. So you turn 1 at a time. Then when you see it's on the list, you know it's been accepted. You turn in the next one. Once you've hit 3, I don't care if you turn in 100 the next day. What that does is this is a new skill set. You're going to mess up. We're okay with that. We're going to tell you any mistakes you made and lead you through to get it right. Don't worry about that. However, it's 1 at a time until you get to 3 for each program you have, because each program is slightly different. The reason we did that is because people would start with the program. And guys, some of you guys go kind of nuts with support quite where you go, I don't know. I'm trying to figure. We have guys that turn stuff in the next day, okay? Because they read the book twice for comprehension, then watched the videos, and then did the step-by-step. You got to read. There's no getting around it. You got to do it. We're not going to summarize it for you. We get that a lot. But anyway, because we throttle you back, you don't turn in 20 right out of the chute. Every one of them's got a mistake. Jeff goes, hey, sorry, you forgot about the conclusion sheet on these 6. You forgot about this. You can catch it 1 at a time as you're making mistakes, so you don't get discouraged and give up. That's why we do that. We want you to succeed, and we want you to know what you're doing. Jasmine. Yeah, Jeff said, this is what I was about to say. Yeah, Jeff already did it. Okay. Already put that up there. Okay, got it. Have a similar. Yeah, John, they've updated. You need to refresh your page. One of the things I would recommend, okay, depending on the browser you're using. So when you go to these resources pages, or even, when you go to the resources page, right click and choose reload, okay? Because what that'll do is that's going to help you. That's going to refresh the page. Sometimes, depending on your browser and the settings you have on there, it will cache, C-A-C-H-E. C-A-C-H-E. It will cache that page and show you the page that was there 3 days ago. Refresh the page. Ray, sounds good. Sounds like you're doing it just right. The National Surplus Funds deals. I don't know if I'd print that out. I would just, but that's your call, man. Look, hey, I get it, Ray. I get it. I'm 56 years old, okay? I can tell you that my case managers that work for me, the majority of them could probably handle doing all of this work online, reviewing documents online. Jeff's gotten to the point where he can do that too. He's younger than me. I got to have something in my hand that I can feel and smell and taste or whatever. I've got to have a hard copy of most of the documents, just because it's me. It's what I'm used to. So throughout the office, we even have, obviously we have stuff that's backed up with scans and all that. We have a fireproof safe for original documents. We have, of course, everything put in the database, but we also have hard files. It's just something I haven't been able to get around to. So, Ray, I dig what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I'm printing out a list and using that as your reference point. And but I will say that's a heck of a list for you to print. You know what I mean? But anyway, somebody else used the question and answer. Oh yeah, we already answered that question from Justin. Okay. It's just so I have the list next to me. I'm 64. Ray, I get it, man. You and I, we're in the same club. Guys, if there's no other questions here, one of the things I want to remind you to do is there is a file download you can download on here. Also, let me throw this out. I know nobody does this, but because we partner with you, obviously we do. Between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm happy to answer your call. Do me a favor, do me a solid here, right? Go to nationalsurplusfunds.net, click on products. Okay, before you call me, click on products. It's going to ask you again to put your name, email, and phone number in. Guys, we can't send you can opt out whenever you want. That's silly. People freak out on that. Anyway, do that. It'll drop you on the products page. Scroll down to the bottom. There's an insider's guide. There's also a handout tonight. There's an insider's guide. Okay. That insider's guide is going to go over every program we've got, and it's going to answer 99% of your questions. However, call me. Still got questions? Pre-tax sale. I'm at 704. Sorry, pre-tax sale. Good Lord. Pre-purchase. Sorry, 56. Pre-purchase, you can call me 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday at 704-791-9398. If you didn't get that, there's going to be a replay of this. And guys, my phone number is all over the internet, including on the website. 9 a.m. to 1 Eastern Time, but please read the Insider's Guide first. So John's got a question. It's IDI data, John. I'm going to go ahead and publish this. It's going to probably be the last questions of the night, Jeff, if you can shut down chat, because I think we're running out of time. Does IDA data, whoa, disappeared. Okay. Does IDA data require a home office inspection? Okay, it's IDI data. IDI data. I believe they do. I'm pretty sure they sent somebody out for me, but talk to them about that. Same thing with Microbuild, a couple other guys we recommend. All they're looking for is you've got it wherever you're going to access this information. If it's it's private information about individuals, wherever you're going to access this, you either have a locking door or a locking file cabinet or something you can lock. A lot of them do like you to have your business name on the door or whatever. You guys are also finding if you're doing your own skip tracing that they like to have a business account. You can get that for as little as $30 by just doing a DBA, doing business as filing. They'll even give you, good Lord, they'll even give you tax identification numbers for that. You can do a DBA. If you're doing this on your own, you don't have to do that if you're a researcher or partner with us. If you're doing a DBA, it costs usually $30 to record with the county. It's a doing business as. Once you get that recorded with the county, you walk it over to your bank. You move $20 in there from your account into that one. You can move it back whenever you want. And they have to see an account like that, a business account. And they like to look at your premises. This is why I tell people that are out of the country, you're probably going to be working the national surplus, not the Premier 16, because you're probably not going to get access to good skip tracing systems because you have to have a U.S. address. I've had some people that have been able to get around that, but not a whole lot. Looks like we're about out of time. Great questions tonight. Again, hey, you still got questions? Pre-purchase, not pre-tax sale, pre-purchase. Give me a call 9 to 1, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 704-791-9398. Hey, guys, I'll see you in about 2 weeks. Have a great night.